On the 6th of January 2022, the arrest of a man was finally made in the 1986 cold case murder of 4-year-old Jessica Gutierrez. Jessica lived in a mobile home located at 2779 South Lake Drive in Lexington, South Carolina. On the night of the 5th of August 1986, just before bedtime, Deborah was painting Jessica's nails. Jessica asked if she could sleep with her mother like she did the previous night, but because Jessica's older brother had an ear infection, he ended up sleeping in her mother's bed instead. Jessica crawled into the double bed she shared with her 6-year-old sister Rebecca, and they fell asleep. In the early morning hours of the 6th of August 1986, Rebecca woke up and found a man standing over their bed. She froze in terror as he bent over and lifted Jessica out of the bed. He then slumped her over his shoulder, carried her out of the bedroom without waking her up, and exited through the front door. Rebecca just stayed in bed awake the whole night, without saying a word. When Deborah woke up in the morning, she discovered that Jessica was missing. As Deborah searched the home for her, she found the window open, the screen removed, and the curtains ripped. School papers were littered across the bedroom floor, and the front door was open. Her pet dog wandered through the front door of the home, but there was no sign of Jessica. Rebecca then told her mother that she's gone, and the man with the magic hat and beard took her last night. Deborah looked at her in disbelief and asked why she didn't say anything earlier, and she replied that she was too scared. The authorities were contacted, and an extensive search followed, which included search by foot, ATVs as well as an aeroplane, but Jessica was nowhere to be found. Deborah suspected her ex-boyfriend may have been responsible for Jessica's disappearance, because just a few days before Jessica went missing, she kicked him out of the house because of his heavy drinking and possessive behaviour. Deborah confronted him, but he denied ever taking her. The man was then questioned by the authorities, but was never charged. Jessica's father, David, who divorced Deborah in 1983, was ruled out as a suspect as he was living in California at the time. At the time of Jessica's disappearance, there was a single fresh fingerprint found on the outside of a window used to gain access to the home, suggesting it belonged to Jessica's abductor. Deborah insisted she cleaned the window. The print was sent to be tested by the authorities in 1986, but the print did not match any criminal records. About 10 weeks after Jessica went missing, a family acquaintance, 27-year-old Thomas McDowell from Western Columbia, was arrested for a separate crime. He stole a van from Lexington County and then drove to North Carolina and broke into a woman's home to rape her as she slept. Thomas was arrested and convicted for that crime in March of 1987. He was sentenced to serve the next decade in a North Carolina prison. When Thomas was arrested, his fingerprint was taken and was found to match the one on the window that Jessica's abductor used to gain access to the home. Later that year, Thomas confessed to an inmate that he abducted a girl in Lexington County, then murdered her and buried her body in a landfill there. He said he was wearing a tall cowboy hat at the time. The inmate then told the authorities. Investigators confronted Thomas, and he offered to confess to the crime for immunity from prosecution, which wasn't granted, so nothing more was said. Landfill was searched near Jessica's home, but no remains were found. Investigators searched Thomas's car and found hair fibres that resembled Jessica's, which could have been used for DNA testing years later. However, evidence collected from Jessica's case as well as others ended up being stored in an old tin shed behind the sheriff's office, which was not environmentally controlled or properly preserved. This caused a lot of the evidence in the shed to be destroyed. Thomas was released from prison in April of 1997, and although he was a suspect in Jessica's case, he wasn't charged with Jessica's kidnapping and murder, citing insufficient evidence to press charges and gain a conviction. James Metz, the sheriff and lead investigator in Jessica's case, had argued multiple times with Deborah when she felt that not enough was being done, and said he'll pull the investigators out of Jessica's case. He was later proven to be corrupt and was arrested in June of 2014 on 10 counts of bribery, which he pleaded guilty to and was ordered to spend a year in prison. In September of 2021, there was a break in the case when the FBI worked with the local police to reinvestigate Jessica's abduction. They spent the next few months reviewing over 3,500 files and interviewing more than 125 people, and a warrant for the arrest of 61-year-old Thomas Eric McDowell was issued. Factors in the warrant of arrest included the fingerprint found on the window of the home on the night of the abduction matched Thomas's. Thomas was picked out of the photo lineup as the kidnapper by witness to the abduction, presumably Rebecca, who was recently re-interviewed as an adult by investigators. Thomas made statements to others that he kidnapped and killed Jessica and wore a tall cowboy hat, which could have been mistaken for the magic hat that Rebecca saw. At 7:50 a.m. on the 6th of January 2022, Thomas was arrested at his home at 842 North White Street in Wake Forest, North Carolina. He's been charged with murder, kidnapping, and first-degree burglary in connection with Jessica's disappearance, although a body has never been found. Thomas is held without bond at the Wake County Detention Center in Raleigh, North Carolina, and will be extradited to South Carolina.